When I was at a very early stage started back in the day, it's 10, 20, 30, 40 people. People are generally saying, I'm working like crazy. I'm doing 7 different jobs and I just wish we had more people, but we know exactly what we need to do. So what's different then? To me, there's maybe 2 or 3 key ingredients. One, I think there is a tremendous amount of shared context that that group has in every direction about the mission, the vision, the strategy, about the customer, about what they're trying to achieve. That shared context is the common language that you use as you're trying to make decisions. 2, I think there's usually a really high degree of trust. And with that trust, because it's a small group that works really closely together, I think you can actually then wind up pushing each other's thinking more. There's a high degree of appreciation for each other so that you can actually push on ideas and not feel that that's threatening in any way. I think the third thing is it's easier to act without fear when it's that early on. You have less that feels at stake. You have less that feels risky. So let me compare that to a large organization. And how do you put that into practice? One, I think almost always when I look at a team or a part of the org that's struggling with a decision and there's different views, the root of that almost always to me starts with, does everyone have the same shared context? Is everyone using the same backdrop to actually be able to weigh the pros and cons or whatever it is they're trying to decide? The answer is almost always no. Communication is hard and alignment is the fundamental challenge of almost every large company. And people are just busy and people are doing different things and they're rowing in different directions. If you can keep an organization aligned and focused, it's like a superpower for velocity. But alignment isn't static. You don't get to do it once. I mean, this is even if you present a 3-year company strategy. If you don't talk about it over the next month, most people will have forgotten it by then because that's not what their team is doing every day. So yeah, I think maintaining and preserving shared context, to have alignment and to have a shared perspective of the backdrop that you're making the decision is number one. I think number 2, I think this is why it's so hard to make decisions at big companies is if there's not trust, it's really hard for there to be conflict, healthy conflict. And if there's not healthy conflict, it's really hard to get to great resolution. When people complain about organizational politics, I think what they're usually saying is there are different parts of the company where there is no trust between those parts of the organization. I think the thing that happens as your company gets larger, and it makes sense, is that decisions become more fraught. You understand all the downsides. You understand what could happen if you make the wrong decision, and it becomes paralyzing. And so the natural, I think, inclination is then, I don't want to personally risk making a decision that is wrong. I put my neck out there, and maybe it was the right decision with the input that we had, but it came to the wrong outcome. And then suddenly people are looking at me and saying, it was, Jimmy's fault or Jane's fault or whoever it was. So I think people become paralyzed with fear. You then have a consensus kind of driven approach because no one person wants to take ownership. Consensus is really hard. And then things slow down again, or you make the most vanilla neutral possible decision. And it's a bet that then winds up not working because you didn't do something with high enough conviction. So yeah, I think if you can get shared context, if you can build trust, and you can figure out how to give people the confidence to make high conviction, bold bets without feeling that if the outcome is off, they're going to be personally attributed, then I think you can start driving the pace and quality of execution and decision making a lot more.